Hello everyone and welcome back to another video with On Point Politics, your number one stop for all things polling and elections in the United States. And today I'm going to give you the best breakdown of the 2024 election at the presidential level, Senate level, House level, and governorship level that you'll find on any YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe for more content just like this. And make sure to go ahead and donate to SoCal Strategies. We sponsor this poll and endorse this pollster because they actually have the best methodology out of any pollster that I know publicly. And they are conducting national and state polls leading into 2024. We are about to go in the field in Pennsylvania, so any support would be greatly appreciated. Now, going back to this map, we clearly see the former president is still favored to win the Electoral College, unlike what most pollsters will tell you, which have Harris up by 2 to 4 points. That is not accurate. We use state approval ratings for the candidates as well as national approval ratings and the national average to go ahead and track state trends, and whatnot. And this basically gives us the Electoral College result. The former president basically wins through the Rust Belt. The Sun Belt's merely not going to be as important because whoever wins the 3 Rust Belt states effectively gets over 270. So the Sun Belt's actually going to be less important than the Rust Belt this cycle. So that's definitely going to be interesting. And with the whiteboard trends in the Rust Belt, it may actually end up helping the former president in these 3 states, and he may be able to win through the Rust Belt. Now, clearly, we see here that the former president, obviously right now, is still holding strong in the approval rating differences. Some states are trending to the right. The demographic model is helping him out as well. We also have the results here and the results from the approval rating differences, and this gets us the Electoral College results, which have him up by about a half a point or so in the Electoral College. And right now he is putting on a pretty decent performance. I mean, I had him winning bigger against Biden, and I feel like I was proven correct on that, because if Biden would have had a close election like this, they would have not kicked him out of the race. If we see here New Mexico, just a 6-point win for Harris. That was 11 points before. Minnesota almost 3 points. Last time it was 7 points for Harris. New Hampshire 4 points. It was also a 7-point victory last time. Maine at large was a 9-point win. Now it's a 4.4 percentage point win. So it actually trends to the right this cycle, which is really interesting. New Jersey and Delaware fall under the 15-point threshold. North Carolina is above, the 5-point win, as well as Ohio and Iowa nearing 15-point victories. Florida not in the lean column. It is now a 9-point win. Texas 9.5 points. Donald Trump is going to perform well with Hispanic and young voters, and that's mainly going to be the drive of his victory to the presidency, as well as African voters in Pennsylvania and Michigan as of right now. That's going to help him out in places like Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Whatever, older black woman Harris picks up and whatever white suburbanites she picks up in Georgia, the young male black vote and other demographics are going to help him out in Atlanta, and white rural areas are definitely going to trend towards Trump everywhere in the country, because Harris has no appeal with white working class voters or any working class voters in general. And I think that's really going to affect her results this election. And so the president is still the favorite to win the Electoral College, or at least the former president is still the favorite to win, and I have him up by a pretty decent amount. Now, the Senate races right now is 53 Senate seats for Republicans to 47. Originally, they were winning in the Rust Belt because Donald Trump was winning all the swing states by such big margins that he was actually helping them get over the finish line in the Rust Belt. But the thing with these Senate elections is the last time we had this race, it was in 2018. This is the last time any of these seats were up for re-election, and we see that Democrats, did very well in a D+9 electorate, but these Democrats in the Rust Belt, especially in Montana, do have pretty popular incumbents, and so this is going to be a bit of a problem for Republicans going into this race. Yes, they are going to be closer because there is this thing called coattails, where each of the top of the tickets, that being a governor, Senate candidate, or even a presidential candidate, does actually help the tickets below them. So usually Harris is going to actually help Democrats in places like Maryland, where Larry Hogan would actually probably perform better without a presidential ticket. And in the Rust Belt states in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, you actually may see Donald Trump help, Republican candidates as best as he can in these states. Now, clearly it's not going to be enough for Eric Hovde to win or Mike Rogers to win or Dave McCormick to win, but we clearly see that Donald Trump makes these races closer than what it would be in a midterm, which what I do is essentially I calculate the margins over here. Arizona, Kari Lake would lose in a midterm by 0.7%. Harris's approval rating is around minus 5.9%. And we see the presidential results from my current model applied over here. And I find the correlation from 2012 from the presidential to Senate map. And we see about 40% of the results are correlated. So that is basically how I divide how the results are averaged out over here. And so this is how we end up getting the Electoral College, or at least the Senate results. Moreno's winning by about 2.2%. West Virginia is going to be an insta flip for Republicans, mainly because of the fact that Joe Manchin is not running there, and so that is automatically going to give the seat to Republicans. Montana, as well, is also not going to be as close as people think. I think that Sheehy probably wins by about 8 as of right now, and Arizona and Nevada are going to be closer than people expect. State polling for Senate races during presidential years are always super off because they do not account for coattail effects. Kentucky, you had multiple polls where Mitch was losing, where Lindsey Graham was losing, where multiple people, for example, the polls had, Daines losing in Montana. They had, Marshall pretty competitive. They had Peters up by quite a bit. They had Tillis losing by 4 to 5 points, and then you see here they ended up doing pretty well. And you've seen with Donald Trump on the ballot, any state that he wins at the presidential level, the Senate race always goes with him. And so that possibly may be broken this cycle, but a state like Arizona that he's going to win by 3 points, it's still very possible that Kari Lake barely pulls it out. Now, in my gut instinct tells me she probably loses the race by about a point or two, but the model actually still has her narrowly winning the race. So that's kind of what I have for the Senate races right now. Amy Klobuchar and Angus King, yes, their margins are closer than their previous elections, but they're still doing pretty strong compared to Harris on the state level as of right now. Donald Trump kind of inflates the margins for the Republicans a tiny bit in some of these states. Now, looking at the House, we actually see that I have Republicans at 224 seats to Democrats at 211. And I actually have a model for this as well. I actually have a model for the House. I actually went ahead and did every single district. I did all 538 districts. Now, what I have essentially done is the reason why I'm using that 270 to win map is because of the fact that some of the results here may be skewed because a lot of the districts were redone back in 2022, and so you may have results that are kind of conflicting with each other and whatnot, and that may be a little bit of an issue when predicting some of these races. So I also include this PVI as best as I possibly can to go ahead and track the partisan leaning of every single district, and I also have the swing and the trend from all of the previous elections. And we also have the winner of everybody from 2022, so it'll tell me if it's a flip or not. And what I do is I basically go here and I use the ratings that these people have done here at 270 to win. And essentially, I have gone ahead and filled out all the districts that are deemed competitive. And that is how I determine my House margins. And right now, I have Republicans at 224 seats to 211. So basically, they net 2 seats from the 2022 midterms. You'd see here in the latest House results from 2022, Republicans got 222 House seats, to Democrats 213. So they would net 2 seats in the House. They would lose a couple seats in California. They would lose a seat or 2 in New York, and possibly even lose a couple in some other places, but would gain in Michigan, Pennsylvania, those really competitive districts. They actually even hold a district in Oregon. They actually flip a district in New Mexico, which is that tilt one that you see right there. That was a really competitive race in the midterms despite Democrats outperforming, and so you'll probably end up seeing that go. Alaska's race is competitive, but Mary does still kind of hold on So more than likely, if Donald Trump were to have a 269 tie, you would actually still see him win the Electoral College or win through the House, because more than likely the majorities in North Carolina and Minnesota may possibly be expanded. So we will see how the House goes. But right now I have Republicans at 224 seats to Democrats 211, with really competitive races like basically New York really deciding that race. I mean, that's going to be an interesting one. New York's 19th is going to be a big race to watch in the state. That is definitely going to be very appealing. That North Carolina's first race is going to be something really interesting to look at as well. That's a really competitive one. You see that there. And New York's fourth, Anthony Despacito. He's a Republican that's trying to hold on to the presidency, or at least, to his House seat. And you see I have the Democrat barely winning as of right now. And in Ohio's 13th, Amelia Skies does narrowly hold on right now. So there are about 4 super competitive districts that are basically within a point. So we will see how those go. And then the final thing is the governor's map, which is a pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I also have a model for the governor's races, which is very similar to the Senate ones. You have the coattails kind of helping out there. And again, in the midterm, you'd actually see that Josh Stein would actually beat Mark Robinson in the state of North Carolina. And that's actually the only race. That is the only competitive race in the governorship. And right now, I actually have Republican Mark Robinson winning by about 1.5 points in the state of North Carolina. He's run a pretty controversial campaign according to most people. I still have, the Vermont governorship and New Hampshire governorship going Republican, despite popular opinion of the New Hampshire races being pretty close. This is the last time we had those races in 2020. They were both safe margins, but based on the way the states are trending, they are clearly trending to the left at the governor level, and the polling data does not look the best for them. And Vermont's governor, Phil Scott, has gone down in popularity quite a bit, so that is definitely going to affect his race. It's actually voting to the left of New Hampshire, which is at about 11 points for the Republican candidate Kelly Ayotte. I believe that's the case. Giant Ford's supposed to win easily. We have a couple people. The next candidate for North Dakota governor is expected to win by almost 50, and the Washington candidate is expected to win by 10, 11 points. And you see Roy Cooper won re-election by 4.5%. He was a pretty popular incumbent Democrat, and he barely won in 2016. And in 2012, we have McCrory, win by 11 points. So, it wasn't that long ago that North Carolina had a Republican governor, and more than likely it is going to be a hard-fought race. But right now, I do have Mark Robinson very slightly winning the race there by just 1.5%. And that is it for all of the major, races for the presidential level, the House level, the Senate level, and the governorship level. That is everything you need to know as of right now for the 2024 presidential election. Make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next video.